morning. Good morning. So, I tell my peers that being in ministry is the best self-help program ever. And some of you were with us last Monday night as we lit a fire in a deluge where even the kerosene wouldn't light. And yet somehow, through all of that, a couple of hours later, ended up with all of the wood burned and a big bed of coals at between 1,200 and 1,400 degrees. How that happened, I'm not sure. Because I was the one out there nursing this little flame. Me and Jonelle and Kate Grayson, we were nursing this little flame, being grateful that the rains had stopped in the sky. I'm so happy and grateful that the skies have cleared. Lightning! We're dripping. I mean, Jonelle had to keep cleaning her eyeglasses because she couldn't see out there. And yet somehow, that which anybody in their right mind would have thought was impossible, not only walking on fire is impossible, and we did it, but having the fire catch and burn in a non-stop, it never did stop raining, non-stop rainstorm would have been impossible. And so what I like about this teaching and what I like about being a minister in it, because I hold myself to that standard. You guys know there's no way Barbara Waterhouse was going to come back into this class and say, well, we couldn't get it to burn. We just couldn't do it. There are some things that even we can't do. That's absurd. That's absurd. So I hold myself up to a standard that says anything is possible. But I gotta let you know that that brings stuff up in me. Because the teaching is a dichotomy. There's only one. The presence of the divine is in each and every one of us. We are spirit beings. We are God beings. We have the ability to manifest our lives any way that we want. We command the power of all creation to collapse into form as everything in our lives, every moment, every experience, everything that we want is within our grasp. That's on the one hand. Ernest used to say something that really just irritated me. And as I've gotten older, I've kind of started to wrap my head around it. He would say there is a power for good in the universe and you can use it. And I would say, well, that's ridiculous. That's not in alignment with principle. There's not a power for good because that infers there's a power for bad. That's duality. There's only a power. And it's not that we can use it, it's that we do use it. We use it every time we think a thought, have a feeling, set an intention, let some of our subconscious out. We use it all the time. It's not that we can use it, like right now I'm going to use the creative force to manifest my life. You don't do that. You're always manifesting your life. And yet to think that it's all about our conscious awareness is limiting. Because you may have heard somewhere down the path that you only use about 3% of your awareness for your conscious thought. So immediately we've reduced our ability to manifest down to 3%, and I've got a sneaky feeling it's more than that. Because there is something. And anyone who says there's nothing is blind. There's something. What is it? I don't know. It's power and presence and spirit manifests in and through all creation, but it is not absorbed by its creation. You are the manifest expression of spirit and form. I don't know. There's something. There's a life that lives us. There's a love that loves us. There's something that carries us through. And yet we are the ones who are using the creative power of the universe. And so John came home with a book a few months ago and said, this is a fantastic book. I want to use it for the prosperity class. It's called The Path to Wealth. I like that name. I like the path to wealth. I like the idea in Science of Mind that we can live prosperous and abundant lives of having more than enough. That like Fran, whenever we live on the periphery of our lives, we can be called to jump in the middle, and that there's a lot of support for that, and we can have the breakthrough and the transformation. I like that. And then you open up the book and she has a letter that you write every day to your chief spiritual officer. And you talk to that. You think about what you want in life and you write it down in statements of gratitude as if you've already received it. And then you do something that, I don't know about you, but for me it's really hard. You let it go. You let it go. You're done. You wrote it down. You turned it over. You gave it out. Who am I turning it over to? Wait a minute. Let me get clear, because I do not believe in an outside power. I do not believe in an outside God that will take what I want and bring it to me. But I do know that it is all me, and that there are levels of me that I quite haven't gotten to yet. There are levels of my ability to be open and to manifest and accept, to create a synchronicity and a correlation of events both in the past and the future that will align and bring into my experience that which I want. There are things going on in my expression of creating my world that I don't have a clue about consciously. But there is that power within me that when I choose to use it, I can trust that that which I want is going to happen. And not, well, Barbara, you said want, and now you've said want, and you've set up duality because you can only want it if you don't have it. No, I moved on to my gratitude statement, my paper where I was grateful. And I say that gratitude all day, that I'm so happy and grateful that I have this, and that I don't have to worry about it. Because this whole thing about Science of Mind, where you're responsible for your experience, can be translated to, I'm to blame for what's going on. Now, if anything is going to change, I have to make it happen. Oh my God, I had a thought, and that thought wasn't my highest thought. What am I going to do? I commanded the power of heaven and earth to come forth into form and to manifest in my life. Oh no! I mean, some of us who have very experienced inner critics and heavy control issues, which are all based in fear, can go there. You know who you are. And so we come into this teaching and we can translate this idea that there is something that will lift us up and carry us through, and all we need to do is decide where we want to go, and we don't have to worry about the how, and we don't have to make it happen with our willpower. And even if we have a thought that's not the best thought, we can think again. I think that's why they call it new thought. Because you're supposed to have one. Regularly. So if you think a thought that you don't want to live out, don't beat yourself up. Just think a different one. Start from scratch. It's like the Etch-a-Sketch where you shake it and it all vanishes and you get to start all over again. That's why Ram Dass said, be here now. Don't be where you were a moment ago with your old thoughts. Don't worry about what's going to happen in the future. Just be here now and focus on what you want. But when you move into this idea that there is something that will lift you and carry you through and take you, I gotta tell you, it's a relief. And I know there are a lot of people in this room who want to micromanage every creation in their life. Treat that this happens in exactly this way so that I can know that I can go over here and have this so that this person will do this over here just the way I want them to. I don't think that's what Ernest had in mind. He said that if you focus on something, there's a power in the universe that you can use that will bring that into your life. And that we can let it go. But in order to let it go, you have to have some kind of a sense and a sureness inside of you that something's going to happen, that the whole world isn't going to fall apart because you're not micromanaging and controlling. And that's where we build faith. There are levels of spirituality and growth. The first one is called by me. that whatever happens in my life is going to be by me, and I'm going to do it, and I'm going to go out, and I'm going to make it happen, and I'm going to take 3 jobs, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to have that. And there's a part of me that loves that idea. I love the warriorness of that. I love that being in control, being in charge. I'm going to have this come hell or high water. Barbara Waterhouse is going to do this. But that's only the first level, and frankly, that's a pretty low level, because you're missing out on everything else. It's as if I'm just little old me and I have to make my life happen, and I am not little old me. I am everyone and everything. I am the power of all creation. I am God itself. And so we move into this idea called through me, to where we can let go and feel something moving through us. I don't know how that fire lit. I don't know that John L. or Kate knows. We were out there singing songs. We were out there. John L. had a towel over her head so she could see. We were digging trenches. We were bailing with the shovels. I had no idea how all of that caught, but it did. Something moved through us and allowed that which would have been impossible to happen, and we could feel it. So most people in the world are living life as if it's happening to them. And then we move on to the spiritual plane and we say, no, there is something that I can do that is by me, that I can manifest my life, but I really want us not to stop there. We will be exhausted. I want us to open up to this idea that there is a presence and a power that moves through us, that manifests our world and reflects it back to us. And I think that that's one of the biggest benefits I'm getting from doing these sheets every day. I've got a notebook and I've got the things that we emailed out, and I've printed them out and punched holes in them and put them in my notebook, and every morning John and I are having our meeting with our chief spiritual operator, and we are writing our gratitude list. We're looking for our intuition. We're celebrating the wins that we have. And why do we celebrate our wins? Because many of us don't notice it. We manifest something and then we get it and we're too busy to acknowledge that we just got that. I don't even remember having gotten it. And then when we stop and say, now what were my wins? What were my demonstrations today? I go, oh wow, I forgot all about that. What was my intuition? My intuition that I was charging off to do something and I got clearly not to do it. I'm sitting at the airport this morning at 6, ready to drop my beloved off for his flight. And he got out with all his luggage and went in the airport. And I'm looking around going, this doesn't feel right. The airport is empty. Usually when I drop John off, there are cars and people and all kinds of stuff because there are planes boarding. I said, just didn't feel right. So I sat there, just didn't feel right to leave. I must have been out there almost 10 minutes. I got a call, come back to the airport and pick me up. The flight that I was going to get on is tonight, not this morning. I said, no problem, I haven't left. And I think that that is part of this willingness to trust that there is something greater than my conscious mind, because my conscious mind is, it is Sunday morning, you haven't been to the center yet, you've got a million things to do, plus you've got to get home, you've got to get dressed, you've got all kinds of things happening today, we got to get going. No, it doesn't feel right. There's something whispering in my ear, everything's going to be okay, just wait. Don't do anything right now. And in sitting there, you know, I didn't have to wait and get off 26 and come back and pick him up and all of that. I was right where I needed to be, and I encourage you. Yes, I love this teaching. You hold the power of creation in your thoughts, in your words, in your actions, in your intentions, in your feelings. And yet there is something greater than that that will lift you. Our job is to set spiritual law in motion, and then we're done. And if we think a thought that's out of alignment with that, come back and think a thought in alignment again, and then we're done. We can let it go. We don't have to micromanage. We don't have to be in control. The sun will still come up, even if we are not out there affirming that the dawn is here. I feel the sun, I see the light, I know the dawn is here, because the dawn's not going to happen unless I'm out there in my lotus pose with my fingers touching and affirming the dawn is here. We do the same thing. We're going to create a house. We don't have to buy the lumber. I mean, unless you're going to build a house. We're creating something in our lives. We don't have to do every cell of it. For Fran's healing, she didn't have to go in and change every cell in her body. There was something that did that through her intention and the gathering of consciousness of the practitioners. There is a power in the universe. It lifts you, it supports you, it carries you through, it makes your wildest dreams come through. You don't need to know what's happening or how it's working. You can simply trust in the knowing that whatever it is there, and it's not separate from you. You are it, but I guarantee you, you don't have a conscious clue as to how that is working. All you do is set spiritual law in motion. I'm doing it every day with my chief spiritual officer meeting. And then I'm practicing what for me is harder than most things in my life, which is to let it go and to trust that that which I choose to have will manifest in my life simply by my intention to create it. We're going to do a lot this summer. We're going to create all kinds of things this summer. And I encourage you to create all of that with a little bit more joy, a little bit more relaxation, a little bit more trust, and a little bit more faith. And so it is.